The tree view widget can be used to display a list of items that the user can interact with and make selections from. Those items can be presented on a single level or as part of a multi-tiered hierarchy. To begin, I've already imported my tk-enter package, as well as the themed tk module, and I've created a root window using the tk constructor method. To create my tree view and store it in a variable called treeview, I'm going to use the ttk treeview constructor method, and I'll pass it the root as the parent. I'll add the tree view to my root window using the pat command. You'll see the tree view is created here, but it's currently empty. To use it, you need to add one or more items to the tree. Each item represents a node in the tree and can be referenced by a unique item name or ID. Those item names and IDs can be chosen by the programmer at the time when the item is created, or tk-enter will automatically generate a unique ID itself. To insert an item into the tree, I call the insert method on the treeview object. The first parameter is the parent node of the new item I want to create. Now, since my tree doesn't currently have anything in here, the treeview widget does automatically create a root node, which it gives the special ID of empty string. So I'll use that for this first item I'm adding. The second parameter is the position in the list under the parent node in which to insert the new item. Since there's no other items here, I'm going to insert it at the 0th position. The third parameter is the item's ID. This is where I can choose what I want to call this item I'm adding to the list. So I'm going to call it item number 1. And then the fourth parameter I'm going to use to set the text property to say first item. That's optional. You don't have to do that. Now we have one item in our list called first item. I can add more items under this tree view. So I'm going to use the insert method again. I'll add another item under that root node of empty string. This item I'm going to add at position 1. I'll call it item 2, and I'll give it the text saying that it's the second item. And then I'm also going to add a third item, again, under that same node. This time, instead of using a 0, 1, 2, 3, I'm going to use the end keyword. And what this will do is it'll add it at the end of all of the items within that level of the hierarchy. I'm going to call this one item number 3, and I'll provide it with the text property saying that it's the third item. So now we have 3 items within our field. They're all on the same level because they all exist under that top level no name root node. We can also add images next to the text of the items if we want to. First, I need to bring an image into my tk-enter program, and I do that with the photo image constructor method that we've learned about previously. Pass in the path to my Python logo.gif. And since that Python logo.gif file is so large, I'm going to use the subsample method that we previously saw to shrink it down by 1/10 of its size in the X and Y direction. So now that I've created my logo, I'm going to insert a new item into my tree view. Instead of inserting it at the top level where I've done these other ones, I'll insert it as a sub item under item number 2 by passing in item 2's node name here. I'm going to insert it at the end of all the items that are under there. It's currently nothing else. I'll give it a name. So that's the name of the node. And then I'll provide it with the text property specifying what text that node will contain. So we'll say Python. And finally, I'll set the image property to be that logo, which is the photo image object we just created. When I execute that, you'll notice now the second item, or item number 2 here, has a little plus sign. And that's because our new item just got placed under it in the tree view. And you can see that small little Python icon next to the text. I'm going to change the height of my tree view widget to be a little bit smaller because it is large for the number of items we have in there. You can do that with the tree view config and change the height property to the number of entries you want to display. So if I change the height to 5, my tree view will be shrunk down so that it can display 5 entries at a time. You can rearrange items in the tree view by using the move method. The only restriction is that you cannot move an item to be underneath one of its own children. That would create an unfortunate loop. To use the move method, we'll call it on the tree view object, and we'll pass in the first parameter of the item we want to move. So I'm going to move item number 2. The second parameter is the new parent to move this item under. So I'm going to move item 2 to be under item 1. And then the last parameter is the position under that new parent in which you want to place it. So I'm going to place it at the end of the items under item 1. So this will take item 2, move it under item 1, and place it at the end of those items. And you see that when I did this, now we have everything located under item 1. By default, items in the tree view are created in the closed position. We can change this by modifying the open property with the item method. I'll use treeview.item. I specify which item I want to modify. So I'll say item number 1, and I'll set open equals true. So this item method is very similar to the config method, but it's used to configure the items within a tree view rather than configure properties of the tree view itself. When I execute that, you see it programmatically opens up the hierarchy. We can also use the item method to check the status of the property for an item. So if I called treeview.item, and I'll check the status for item 1 and see what is the status of the open property. And that'll return 1, representing true, letting me know that this tier is now opened. If we want to remove an item from the tree view, we can do so by using the detach command. We pass in the name of the node that we want to detach. So let me try detaching item number 3. And this will remove that node from the tree view, but it still exists. And we can re-add it to the tree view by using the move method. So let's do that now. treeview.move item 3, and that's the item we want to move. We put in the second parameter, which is the node under which we want to move this item. So I'll put it under item 2. And then we pass in the index of where under that item we want to place it. So I'll place it at the top under item number 2. So this should insert item 3 under item 2. So we should show up here under the second item tier at position 0, which will place it just above the Python entry. And there you can see our third item is now back. In addition to the detach command, there's also a delete command for the tree view, which will completely delete an item from the view. So if I use the delete command on item number 3, it's removed from my view and the item disappears completely. It cannot be re-added.